On this most glorious day of the anniversary celebration of the appearance of our Param Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaga Acharya Ashtottara Sata Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. On this occasion, I'm going to start this session by singing a song that was composed in his praise during his presence in the world. I've not sung it except informally to myself previously. I don't remember singing it before. So there might be some little mess up, but unless you know Bengali, you wouldn't notice it anyway. There are 21 verses, each of 4 lines, except one of them is only 3 lines, so it's quite long. And I'll give an explanation of it afterwards. And it's very simple, sweet Bengali. And if you listen carefully and you know Hindi or any other, especially North Indian language, then you should be able to follow a lot of it. Of course, the Bengali pronunciation is different quite to Hindi pronunciation. Anyway, let's sing it. The song is called Srila Prabhupada Vandana. Oh, and actually it's going to be on the screen, so you can follow it very easily in English script, or Roman script as it's called. Jai Re Jai Re Jai Paramahamsa Mahashoy Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Jai Parama Karunamay Dino Hino Agatira Gati Nilachale Hoya Uday Shri Gaura Mandale Ashi Prema Bhakti Parakashi Jiben Ashilo Bhava Boy Tomara Mohima Gai Heno Shadda Moranai Tobe Pari Jodi Deho Shakti Vishahite Abhirata Acha Prachare Rata Vishuddha Shirupa Nuga Bhakti Shripad Keturi Dham Thakur Shri Narotam Tomate Taha Guna Deki Shastra Siddhanta Shah Shuni Lage Chamatka Kutar Kikdite Nare Paki Shuddha Bhakti Mato Jato Upadharma Kabalito Heriya Lokera Mone Tras Hanishu Siddhanta Ban Upadharma Khan Khan Sajane Barale Ula Sharta Mato Jaladhar Shuddha Bhakti Rabikar Acha Dilo Bhavya Antare Shastra Sindhu Mantanete Shushidhanta Janjabate Uraila Dig Digantare Stane Stane Kotomot Stapiato Nishkapat Prema Shiva Shikaite Jibe Morte Vaishnavagan Kare Shoda Bitaran Hari Guna Katamrita Bhave Shuddha Bhakti Mandakini Bimala Pravani Shitala Karilo Tapta Pran Deshe Deshe Nishkinchan Prerila Vaishnavagan Bistarite Hari Gunagan Purve Jata Gaura Hari Maya Vada Cheda Kari Vaishnav Karila Kashibashi Vaishnav Darshana Shuka Bichare Tumi Hedokha Temati Toshila Baranasi Doiba Varnashram Dharma Hari Bhakti তার মর্ম শাস্ত্র যুক্তে করিল নিশ্চয় জ্ঞান যোগ কর্ম ছয় মূল তার কিছু নয় ভক্তি বিরোধী যদি হয় শ্রী গৌরমণ্ডল ভূমি ভক্ত সঙ্গে পরিক্রমী সুকীর্তি স্থাপিল মশায় অভিনব ব্রজমণ্ডল অভিনব ব্রজমণ্ডল গৌরভূমি প্রেমজল প্রচার হইল বিষময় কুলিয়াতে পাষাণীরা অত্যাচার কইল যারা তা সবা দোষ ক্ষমা করি জগতে কইল ঘোষণা তরিব সহিষ্ণু না হন কীর্তনীয় সদাহরি শ্রী বিশ্ব বৈষ্ণবরাজ সভামদে পাত্ররাজ উপাধি ভূষণে বিভূষিত বিশ্বে মঙ্গল লাগি হয়াছ সর্বত্যাগী বিশ্ববাসী জন হিতে রত করিতেছ উপকার যাতে পর উপকার লোভে জীব শ্রীকৃষ্ণ সেবায় দূরে যায় ভবরোগ খণ্ডে যায় কর্মভোগ হরিপাদ পদ্ম যাতে পায় জীবমোহ নিদ্রাগত জাগাতে বৈকুণ্ঠ দূত গৌড়িয়া পাঠাও ঘরে ঘরে উঠরে ভাই আর তো সময় নাই কৃষ্ণ ভজ বল উচ্চাই স্বরে তোমা মুখার বিন্দ বিগলিত মকরন্দ সিঞ্চিত অচ্যুত গুণগাথা শুনিয়ে জুড়াই প্রাণ তম মোহ অন্তর্ধান দূরে যায় হৃদয়ের ব্যথা জানি আমি মহাশয় যশ বাঞ্ছা নাহি হয় বিন্দু মাত্রা তোমা অন্তরে তব গুণ বিনা ধারি মোর কণ্ঠ বিনা ধরি অবশেষে বলায় আমারে বৈষ্ণবের গুণগান করিলে জীবে ত্রাণ শুনিয়াছি সাধু গুরু মুখে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি সমুদয় জনম সফল হয় এই ভব সাগর থরে সুখে এই কারণে এই প্রয়াস যথা বমানে রাস গগনে ছন্দ ধরি ভারে এই কারণে এই প্রয়াস যথা বামনের আশ গগনে ছন্দ ধরি বারে অদোষরসি তুমি অধম পতিত আমি নিজ গুণে ক্ষমিবা আমারে শ্রী গৌরাঙ্গ পরিষদ ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদ দীনহীন পতিতেরা বন্ধু খালি তোমা বিনাশিতে আনিলেন অবনীতে তোমা অকলঙ্ক পূর্ণ ইন্দু কর কৃপা বিতরণ প্রেমা সুধা অনুক্ষণ মাতিয়া উঠুক জীবাগণ হরিনাম সংকীর্তনে নাচুক জগত জনে বৈষ্ণব দাসে নিবেদনে So now I'll give a little commentary on this. There's so much to be understood from it. Actually, without having gone through the pastimes of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you won't be able to pick up so much of what we're talking about because it's praising his qualities. This song is praising his qualities. But we have to know how those qualities he practically manifested them. For instance, we can say, such and such a person is compassionate. Okay, we get some vague idea. But if we hear, for instance, Nityananda Prabhu is compassionate, that even he was attacked physically, and instead of retaliating, he wanted to deliver his the person who was aggressive to him, Madhai. So that gives some solid idea of what we're talking about. Anyway, this song, this kirtan, was originally titled Thakore Prati Nibedan, which means an offering to the Thakur. It was written by Sri Gopal Gobinda Mahanta of Sylhet, Sriharta, which was then in British India, in Assam. Now it's within Bangladesh. Now, astonishingly, Gaudiya Math preachers had never been there. They'd never been to Sriharta at the time when Gopal Govinda Mahanta composed this. They didn't know him. How did he know all about this? Well, maybe from the Gaudiya magazine, but it just shows the effect. The preaching was going on, and remember, in those days there was no TV. There was radio, but not many people had it, and it was not even broadcast to many areas. No internet. So somehow the news had gone. I know my experience in Bangladesh when we started preaching there in 1979, and we started traveling around the country. And it was a very similar situation at the time. There was no electricity in most places. The postal service hardly worked to the remote villages, and remote means there's no way to get to them, but very easily. You can't drive there to many of them by walking, by country boat, rowing boat, and like that. There are many, many remote villages. So he went to the Hindu villages and did programs, and within a short time, the news of our being there and preaching, white-skinned devotees of Gauranga. It was unheard of, unknown of. Actually, some news had come that something's going on in Mayapur in West Bengal. But when it just became known, the news spread among the Hindus all over Bangladesh. Exactly how, we don't know. So like that, the Gaudiya Math, it was sensational what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was leading. So the news spread very widely, and this song, which was later retitled Srila Prabhupada Bandhana, prayer to Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So this kirtan written arrived in the postal service worked. There was a post office at Mayapur, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, we need a post office here because we have to send our magazines and deal with so much post. So it arrived in the post during the annual Gaudiya Math festival in 1927. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very pleased with it, and then after that it was regularly sung throughout the Gaudiya Math institution. It's not in any ISKCON published songbooks, as far as I know. I've put it in my compilation, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava. Okay, so let's have a little commentary on this. And like I say, it's if you can understand Indian languages, then it's not difficult to understand. Jai Re Jai Re Jai. It just means all glories. That's how we render it. To Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. Jai Re Jai Re Jai, Paramahamsa Maharshi. He's a Paramahamsa, topmost level devotee. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. I mean, even to unpack the meaning of his name, you could spend a long time. I did it to some extent at the beginning of this Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav. Goswami, Thakur, Jai, Goswami, sense control. Thakur, he's worshipable on the level of God. We could translate it like that. Jai, all glories to him. Parama Karunamai, most merciful, full of the highest mercy. And Dino Hino Agatira Gati. For those who are most lowly and fallen, who have no direction, no goal, no hope, he is the hope. Nilachale Hoya Uday. He arose in Nilachal, Jagannath Puri. He was born there. Then he came to Sri Gauramandal. He came to Gauramandal, roughly corresponds, can roughly be called the West Bengal. It's not exactly the state of West Bengal as we have it today, but the western part of Bengal. So he came to Gauramandal. That means his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was serving in Puri at the time, relocated to West Bengal, and he was in different places. Sometime he was in Narail in Joshua, which I'm not sure. Now it's in Bangladesh. It's just over the border from West Bengal. And some parts of what was traditionally West Bengal went into Bangladesh. So anyway, he was in West Bengal. And what did he do? He revealed Prema Bhakti. Not translatable into English. There's no concept in English. But we say loving devotional service to Krishna. He revealed that. He manifested it. And in this way, he destroyed the living entity's fear of material existence. I must say it sounds much better in Bengali. Tomar Mahimagai. I'm attempting to sing your glories, but I don't have the ability to do so. But I can do so if, this is the author of the song, if you give me the ability to do so, if you empower me. You are always engaged in activities for the benefit of the whole universe, both by your personal example and by your words, your preaching of topmost pure Rupa Anuga Bhakti, devotional service in the line of Rupa Goswami. Then he says, referring to Narottam Das Thakur of Sripat Keturi, where Narottam was born and lived most of his life. He says that I see the same qualities in you, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as in Narottam Das. Now, among Bengali Vaishnavas, there can't be a higher praise than this, because the position of Narottam Das in Gauriya Vaishnavism, as traditionally in Bengal, is unique. His songs are sung everywhere. His influence in making Bengal Vaishnav in the first place is incomparable. He has a unique position. So to say that the same qualities are there in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that's the highest possible praise. Oh, now Now, just a little aside here. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was in the same family line as Narottam Das. Narottam Das didn't have any children. He was a lifelong celibate, but his brother Santosh Datta continued the family line. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur traced out the family line, and the same family that Narottam Das appeared in, Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in some generations later, obviously. And of course that means Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did so also. Now, there are so many things they had in common. Both were extremely renounced, both were Vaishnava writers, both had gurus who didn't want to initiate them, who didn't want to initiate anyone, but in both cases, both Narottam Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they practically forced their gurus to initiate them by serving them and pleading with them. They didn't want to take any disciples, but in both cases, because their gurus were recluses, they just wanted to do their own bhajan, and they felt very humble. I'm not fit to initiate anyone. But they were practically forced to by very powerful personalities. But in both cases, Lokanath Goswami was the guru of Narottam Das, and Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was the guru of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In both cases, although they only had one disciple each, these disciples spread Krishna consciousness widely and made their gurus famous and initiated many disciples, and both of them made unique and lasting contributions to the Gauriya Sampradaya, and writing such important writings. So, Shastra Shidanta Shah Shuni Lage Chamatkar Kutakik Dite Nare Faki. They were both in because they're Kayastha, the Kayastha family, which is classified as Shudra, although Kayasthas are intelligent and educated and what in modern language we would call socially forward people, but they weren't Brahmanas. By caste, they were not considered Brahmanas, but they initiated and gave mantras, and they initiated even Brahmanas, both Narottam Das and Siddhanta Saraswati. So both of them became subject to tremendous opposition for initiating, and especially for initiating Brahmanas, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur compounded the ire of the Smarta Brahmanas by giving threads to those he initiated, even those who were from Shudra families, or lower, maybe even lower. So this they had both of them had to face a lot of opposition for this. But in both cases, those who tried to oppose them by citing Shastra, scripture, that is wrong, in both cases, in the case of Narottam Das and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in both cases they just amazingly, with their Shastric knowledge and their forcefulness, and they were able to stop all the opposition on a Shastric basis. The situation in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, what happened after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Nityananda was preaching, Narottam Das were preaching, others were preaching in Bengal, but immediately so many strange things got mixed up with Gauriya Vaishnavism at the very time it was being preached for the first time, and gradually the wrong ideas got so mixed up with Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but by the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the situation of Vaishnavism had become very degraded. Of course, Vaishnavism can't be degraded inherently, just like inherently there's no such thing as offensive chanting. The name is always pure, but our attitude is offensive. So in the same way, in the name of Vaishnavism, so many wrong things were going on. And this caused anxiety, because the real pure teachings of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, had been covered or engulfed by various wrong ideas. So, by shooting the arrow of proper Siddhanta, philosophical conclusions according to Shastra, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he cut to pieces all those wrong ideas, and in this way increased the happiness of the devotees. Devotees are always happy, but they become unhappy to see people suffering and misguided by wrong ideas. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati cut their wrong ideas to pieces, they became even more happy. What are the wrong ideas? Well, very prominent was the clouds of Smartamat. The sun, the sunshine of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, had been covered by the clouds of Smartamat. The idea that we have to follow so many different rules and regulations. This Raghunandan of Bengal came up shortly after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and implanted in the people of Bengal. It was almost in opposition to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Smartas, or the orthodox caste Brahmanas, they became disturbed at this Vaishnava movement, and then Raghunandan, one Brahmana by the name of Raghunandan, codified so many rules which people have to follow to bring the people away from Vaishnavism and back to the caste-based, rule-based system. Now, of course, Vaishnavism also has so many rules, and so many rules are in line with what the Smartas do. We say the word Smarta conventionally because in one sense, Vaishnavas, especially those who are practicing Vaishnavas, those who are not totally on the pure platform, and even those who are totally on the pure platform, they follow Smriti. Smriti, it's a broad category, but especially in this context we're talking about Dharma Shastra, or rules for regulating the life of people in the Vedic culture. So Vaishnavas also follow. Smartas rise early in the morning before sunrise. Vaishnavas rise early in the morning before sunrise. Smartas recite mantras to Narayana. Vaishnavas recite mantras to Narayana. Smartas may also do for so many other, for the demigods. But there are many things they do in common. You give things with your right hand, not with your left hand, and you sit in a certain direction for eating. Mostly Vaishnavas used to follow all these things also. So they have a meaning to them. It's not just meaningless superstitions. There are rules for this. Anyway, it's a big topic, but it's a huge topic actually. Much misunderstood among our devotees in the Western world, it seems, because they have no idea of the depth and intricacy of the culture that Gauriya Vaishnavism was traditionally practiced in. So, by churning the ocean of Shastric conclusions, bringing a strong wind from all directions of Shastric conclusions, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati blew away the misconceptions of the Smartas. Of course, this is all very an ornamental way of describing, as is typical for poetry. This is poetry, but from all sides, he attacked them. He was able to attack them because they believed in Shastra. In that sense, the Smartas, they have a cultural advantage over devotees. I'm speaking in a very general way at the present time, and devotees in the Western world who don't have that deep commitment to or acceptance of the importance of Shastra. It was very deeply in the what we can call the Hindu psyche. Vedna mania bodh hoilo nashtik. When the Buddhists are rejected from Vedic culture because they don't accept the Vedas. So anyway, I'm just any line from this song we could just go and try to explain it in tremendous depth. There's so much depth. And that's one reason also why we should, at least those who are intellectually inclined within our Krishna conscious movement, we should apply our intelligence to try to understand these points. Parampara jano bhalo mate. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, try to understand our parampara very well. Instead of applying our intelligence to thinking, who's better, Trump or Biden, or some things like this. Better to apply our intelligence to trying to touch a little, at least a little drop of the oceanic personalities and teachings of our acharyas. So continuing, Stane stane koto mot, stapi acho nishkapat. In so many places, established so many mats, Gauriya Mat, they'd be called different names. Gauriya Mat is actually in Calcutta, Bagbazar, then we have Satchidananda Mat in Cuttack. Sri Chaitanya Mat was actually the original, that's in Mayapur. Then we have Sanatan Gauriya Mat was established in Varanasi, Rup Gauriya Mat in Prayagraj. So in so many places he established mats to establish a building and to establish buildings from which nishkapat, guileless, no cheating, pure service was taught, pure service to Krishna was taught to the jivas. And the Vaishnavas in the mats, they were continually engaged in distributing the nectar of glorification of the qualities of Krishna to people within the material world. And Srila Prabhupada said the similar thing. He said our temples are not meant to be places for eating and sleeping, but they are bases from which our devotees go out to distribute books to the population. Then another, what shall we say, another alankaric or ornamental description. The Mandakini. Mandakini means Ganga in the heavenly worlds. And of course she came down to this world as Ganga. So Shuddha Bhakti Mandakini. Bimala Pravaha Ani. You brought, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brought the Mandakini. Just like the Mandakini, the Ganga comes down, so you brought down from the spiritual world the flow, the pure flow of pure devotional service. And everyone in this material world who is burning in the fire of material existence became cooled by that. And how did he do that? Well, one of the ways, he sent Vaishnavas without any personal motive. They went so many places to increase the Vistariti Niskinchan. And we can take that as they left the world. They were mostly brahmacharis and sannyasis. They were living in the mutt. Some grihastas were living in the mutt, but they were renounced from their families. And he sent them out in the world to expand the glorification of the qualities of Lord Hari. Just like, he gives in the next verse, the example, just like previously, Gaura Hari, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cut to pieces Mayavad, and in this way made the residents of Varanasi into Vaishnavas. We can find that in the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 25, I believe it is. That's not such an easy thing to do, because the Mayavadis were deeply into Shastra and into their misunderstanding of it. And the same culture was going on at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Now we don't find that much, just in a few pockets here and there. At Sringeri, at, well, the places of the Shankaracharya, Puri, not at Dwarka much, because, at Badrikash, well, especially Sringeri and Kanchi, there are hardcore Mayavadis, but it was much more widely spread, and the culture of Shastric knowledge was still very strongly there at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So to oppose Mayavad, not such an easy thing. You have to be very deep in Shastra and very realized of the actual meaning. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was so expert in presenting all the subtle points of Vaishnava darshan, philosophy, according to Shastra. In this way, he satisfied the Mayavadis, and they became Vaishnavas. Daiva Varnashra Dharma. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established that the essence of Varnashram Dharma is Daiva Varnashram Dharma, with the essence is Hari Bhakti. He established this clearly, again by Shastric definition, by Shastric analysis, because the Smartas, it's all by birth, and you do pious activity, you go to heaven, and so on. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established by Shastra that, no, you got it all wrong. The procedures the basic framework is okay of the Varnashram Dharma. In many ways it's all right, but you got the whole purpose wrong, which is it's all meant to lead to Krishna. And if you take Jnana, Yoga, Karma, Choy, I should revise that translation a bit. If you take Jnana, Yoga, and Karma all together, their value is nothing. If they are practiced or conceptualized in a manner that is opposed to pure devotional service. In other words, Gyan, Yoga, Karma, they're also in bhakti. There's not the bhakti, there's no Gyan. Yoga is there, everything, but it has to be in relation to bhakti. He would perform parikrama of going around Gaura Mandal. In the earlier days of the Gaudiya Math, he would visit so many places of the holy places connected with Lord Chaitanya and his associates, and was very well received in most places by the Mahantas, the temple leaders in those places. And in this way, he amplified the glories of Gaura Mandal Bhumi, and all the holy places. That's one thing that our own Srila Prabhupada wanted to do also by establishing the Bhaktivedanta Swami Charity Trust. It hasn't really happened that much, unfortunately, but the whole of Gaura Mandal, the whole of West Bengal, it's like one big expanded holy place, and there's so many important places there. So he established that, but then after that he started doing the annual parikrama of Navadvip, which comes up in the next verse. But he showed that Gaura Bhumi, which is resplendent with prem, pure love of Krishna, he established and he preached it all over the universe by traveling around like this with his disciples. Non-different. Gaura Mandal Bhumi is non-different from Vraja Mandal, from Vrindavan. Shri Gaura Mandala Bhumi Jeba Jane Chintamani Tar Hoy Braja Bhume Bash. Narottam Das sings that whoever knows, accepts, and realizes that the pastime places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, West Bengal, are non-different from Vrindavan, from Vraja Mandal, which is a transcendental wonderland, despite the present commercialization and massive construction and so many things going on. But Vraja Mandal is a transcendental wonderland, and Gaura Mandal is non-different from it. So he established this. Then, as he was traveling in Navadvip in the Navadvip Dham Parikrama, when they came to the town of Navadvip, which the followers of Gaudiya Math, they generally refer to as Kuleya. Kuleya for historical, geographical reasons, and especially because they want to differentiate Mayapur as the actual birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was in Kuleya, in Navadvip town, there was an attempt to kill him. And it wasn't even well, the whole party was attacked. It wasn't the kind of cloak and dagger thing where someone comes up with a knife. The whole party was attacked by stone throwing. It was horrific. But he escaped from that by the grace of Bihari, not Pulin Bihari. How can I forget? Braja Bihari. I'm just not good. Keshav Maharaj. he enabled him to escape, and it was that attack on the Gaudiya Math was actually a turning point. It made an upsurge of sympathy for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and the Gaudiya Math. They had been very, very controversial. They continue to be controversial, but people didn't like that they were attacked in that matter. Binod Bihari is the name, brahmachari name of Keshav Maharaj. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could have taken strong action, police case, this, that, but he didn't. He just, okay, let it be. In this way, by his action, or his inaction, you could say, he demonstrated and preached to the world the principle of Tarariva Sahishnuna, being as tolerant as a tree. In this way, one should chant the holy names of the Lord. He personified that. He revived the Vishva Vaishnava Raja Sabha, and he was decorated with the title of Patra Raj, which means something like the president of the assembly. And for the sake of the auspiciousness of the whole universe, he was in a position, very intelligent, very respected from a young age, but he didn't enter into family life. For the sake of the benefit of all the people of the world, he renounced materialistic life. He performed welfare activities, showing that the real highest benefit is service to Krishna. He gave up the world in terms of trying to enjoy it, but he was very active in the world to uplift the people of the world so that they could get service to Krishna, by which their disease of repeated birth and death could be destroyed, and their attachment to enjoying materialistic life is cut to pieces by attaining the lotus feet, or bringing them in this way to the lotus feet of Lord Hari, Sri Krishna. The whole world, everyone in the world was in the sleep of ignorance, but he sent messengers, Vaikuntha messengers, to wake everyone up, sending door to door, Gaudiya. The word Gaudiya is put in quotation marks. So we can say Gaudiya means his devotee, his disciples. He sent them door to door. It can also mean the Gaudiya magazine. It was tremendous magazine, the quality of the articles in that magazine at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was simply tremendous. It's when I was compiling that book, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, then I was reading these articles and just like, whew, what a level of understanding and consciousness, and so exalted. So this was sent door to door. And what's the basic message? Get up, brothers! There's no more time. They would shout loudly, worship Krishna, get up, worship Krishna, utishta, jagrata, prapya, varang nibodhata. Get up, jeev jago. Then, the glories of Achyuta, the infallible Lord, flow like honey from your lotus mouth. It sounds beautiful in English. In Bengali, Toma Mokharabinda Bigolita Makaranda Sinchita Achyuta Gunagata. Sounds nicer in Bengali. hearing those words from you, all the listening to him speak, all the ignorance within us goes far away, the cause of all the pain in our heart, and we feel, very nice, just by hearing him. Then the compiler of this song says, I know, O great personality, that you have no desire to be glorified or for fame or any such thing. There's not even a drop of that within your heart. But your qualities are like, this is again, it's very poetical, allegorical language, ornamental, allegorical. That your qualities are like a musician who's holding my throat and forcing me to speak. In other words, your qualities are so great. I have to glorify you. It has to be done. I don't have any choice in this matter. Boishtaver gurna gan korileji betran shuniachi sadhu guru mukhe. This is Shuniachi Sadhu Guru Mukhe. This is exactly the same words as Narottam Das uses more than once in his songs. Let me see if I can remember now. Kobe Lokanath More Shonge Loya. No, that one. Anyway, exactly the same. It's very important. I've heard from sadhus and gurus that by glorifying the devotees, the qualities of the devotees, we get uplifted. By following the practices of devotional service, our life is successful. And we can cross over the ocean of birth and death, material existence, very happily. Not like the Mayavadis who want to cross the ocean of birth and death, but they have to go through so many difficulties. Therefore, he says, I'm trying to glorify you, but my attempt at glorification is like a dwarf trying to catch the moon in the sky. So it's ridiculous. But you are adoshadarshi. You do not see the faults of others. And so even though I'm very fallen and lowly, you please forgive me. By your great qualities, you please forgive me. He's apologizing for glorifying Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He's saying, I'm completely unqualified to try to glorify you, but you please forgive me for even attempting to do so. Then he says, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, because he is the friend of the fallen, the lowly, the wretched, he's a personal associate of Lord Chaitanya. And to destroy the darkness of Kali Yuga, he brought into this world you, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who are a spotless full moon for destroying the darkness of Kali Yuga. You, please, he's praying. In the last verse of this song, he's praying, you please continue ceaselessly to distribute your mercy, the nectar of pure devotional service, and get all the jivas, lift them up to become enlivened and mad and intoxicated with Harinam Sankirtan. Let all the people of the world dance in Harinam Sankirtan. This is the request of this Vaishnava Das. So that's the end of that song. And it's a glimpse into the qualities and activities of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. 2022. This is the year that we're in. In 1922, at some time in the year 1922, a young man by the name of Abhay Charan De was dragged unwillingly. Dragged means he was a friend of his, Narendranath Malik, friend come relative, relative come friend, dragged him or importuned upon him. You have to come to see this sadhu. I want you to see this sadhu. And Abhay, I don't know. I've seen so many sadhus. I'm fed up with sadhus. How are sadhus going to help us? We should get behind Gandhi's independence movement. He wasn't interested. Sadhus, yeah, I know. They're a bunch of beggars, right? Sadhus. Anyway, he went to see that sadhu, and this sadhu was different. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. This was in the early days of the Gauriya Math mission. It wasn't even called the Gauriya Math at that point, was it? I don't remember exactly. Bhaktivinoda Asana at Ultadinga Road in Calcutta. So he went, and within a short time, Abhay Charan, who was raised in an atmosphere of pure devotion, but who had superficially accepted the materialistic outlook that we have to promote Indian independence. This is the important thing. This is our spiritual struggle right now. After a short time, this first time, it seems he hadn't even heard of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati before this, or maybe just in passing. But after sitting and actually challenging him, first of all, he realized this is my guru. This is a real devotee. I've never seen a real devotee previously. I never imagined. Surely in the hands of this personality, the pure teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will spread everywhere. This was the impression on the intelligent and strong-minded Abhay, not one to accept something sentimentally. He accepted him in his heart as his guru. 11 years later, at Prayagraj, he was formally initiated. But in 1922, he met him at Ultadanga Road. Now, a few years ago, it may be 7, 8 years ago, something like that, devotees on Padayatra, India, they happened to visit that place. I'd visited that place also. The Ultadanga Road, the place of the Gauriya Math at that time is a rented place. That was their first place in Calcutta. Later they moved to the Bagh Bazar Gauriya Math, where the Gauriya mission is to this day. And there are others scattered throughout Calcutta, different branches of the Gauriya Math diaspora. But that Ultadanga Road, when they left that place, it was a rented place. And then it continued to be under the supervision of the owners, whoever they may be. And it wasn't much thought about. it seems, for quite some time. Anyway, a few years ago, devotees, to tell you the truth, I don't remember his name, sent me an email that we just visited that place. And wouldn't it be good to get it, that ISKCON could get it, and then in 2022 we could offer that to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, where the historic meeting of these two great personalities. So anyway, I got in contact with a few. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I wasn't involved beyond that. But that was acquired in the name of ISKCON, and the place has been restored to what it would have been like at that time. Like so many buildings from the British time in Calcutta, they still look pretty much the same as they did in the British time, outside and inside, except inside they have TVs and this and that, electric fans. Some of them might have electric fans in those days also. But it was and most of them are in a rundown condition, both outside and inside. Anyway, it's been restored. And today, on the Vyasa Puja of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that restored building is being opened for the public, and there'll be a museum also concerning Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at that place. So that's a great achievement to get. And the other up-and-coming thing is Srila Prabhupada's birthplace in another part of Calcutta that's still going through various difficulties to get the occupants out and this and that. That's actually going on live now on the internet. That'll be going on all morning and probably well into the afternoon. The opening of that center, reopening of that center at Ultadanga Road after such a long time. Srila Prabhupada accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his guru, not for any sentimental reason, not because of his looks or his smile or his reputation as a famous and respected guru, which was, he wasn't that famous or respected at the time, nor due to the recommendation of others. He went just to humor his friend, but he went in there with an attitude of defiance. But Srila Prabhupada, Abhay Charan Dey at the time, recognized Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as an empowered emissary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted him as his guru. And remember, it's not going to be very easy to make such a strong-minded person as Abhay Charan Dey. It's not that easy that he's going to submit to someone. Definitely not sentimentally. He's not going to be cheated by cheaters. So Abhay Charan accepted him as his guru, accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as his guru, because of what he spoke. Guru Bhaka Parama Mahatta. It's what he speaks that is the main thing. And of course his actions have to be in line with his speaking. We should note that before meeting him, before our Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, our Prabhupada was skeptical about him. And it was because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati spoke the clear, unadulterated truth, grounded in Shastra, that it resonated with the heart of Abhay Charan. Not any frills or shows or gimmicks. He presented the truth straightforwardly. Of course, to present the truth straightforwardly, he made so many facilities to do that. At Mayapur, he made an exhibition, which was, a lot of it was mundane, showing industrial achievements and different architectural agricultural implements, just to attract people. But they had a part of the exhibition which was to show people about Krishna consciousness also. So we may do so many things to bring people to Krishna consciousness, but we have to bring them to Krishna consciousness, to Bhakti Vedanta, to Bhakti Siddhanta. Otherwise, it just becomes a dancing show. If we do dancing, some nice Bharatnatyam dancing, but there's nothing, then where's the philosophy? Where's the teaching? Where's the surrender to Krishna? Then we become Bharatnatyam dancers and not Krishna devotees. The clear, unadulterated Shastric truth without any fancy or frills. That is the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava. That is the essence of his glory, that he presented that. And it was because of this that Abhay Charan knew that he is genuine, bona fide, and he had to surrender to him. He had to surrender to him, because otherwise the preaching of the absolute truth without any compromise compels people to either surrender if they're honest and sincere, or to run away, or to oppose, or to make a show of following, but you can't remain the same. It's too provocative. People will run away. They will oppose. So he may think it's better, well, just do some dancing, and then people will come and everyone will clap, and we'll chant Hare Krishna. They'll hear the holy names. They have to hear the message of Godhead. If we don't give the message of Godhead, then all our show is just a show. There has to be substance. We can learn from Srila Prabhupada's surrender to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati on the spot. Didn't officially take initiation, but accepted, yes, this is the right person. So from this we can understand that someone who's not under proper guidance, if he comes in contact with a speaker and practitioner of the Absolute Truth, someone who is sincere must surrender to him. If he fails to do so, he's not sincere. Of course, almost everyone in this world is not sincere. So we try to catch a spark of sincerity and fan it. We don't expect everyone to just surrender on the spot. Generally, the insincere don't even recognize a bona fide guru. Maya protects them, so to speak, from even recognizing their deep attachment to material so-called happiness. Prevents them from accepting the obvious. It's owls with their eyes closed in the daytime saying there is no sun. Ahankari mattohaya nitai pada pasharya ashatere shatta karimani. Those who do not, those who are forgetful or avoiding of Nityananda. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is Nityananda, is the manifest representative of Nityananda Prabhu, who is the preacher of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first and foremost preacher. So out of egoism, those who avoid Nityananda, then they take untruth to be truth. So the speaking of the actual truth as it is polarizing. That was seen prominently in the preaching activities of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He had many enemies. The one devotee wrote some time ago. He's in the West. I've never met him personally. That generally we think that preaching in India is easy compared to in the West. But we see from the activity he wrote after reading my book, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati didn't have an easy path. He was in India, but it wasn't that it was an easy path. He went through an enormous struggle to re-establish the philosophy and principles of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal and the West and the rest of India. In the West, devotees are supposed to be struggling against hedonistic sense enjoyment. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's struggle was against all kinds, that also, but against all kinds of deviations and contaminations which had deeply entered the movement of Chaitanya, or what was being misrepresented as the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It wasn't easy. It's easy for us today to offer flowers and encomiums and bhog and have a feast. But it wasn't easy. That strong determination of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We see it's very, very strong, principled person. We see that throughout his whole life. Of course, his life is not over, but conventionally we say that. We also, by parampara jano bhalomate, if we see the previous acharyas and how the movement has come down in time, it's eternal teachings, but it's presented differently in different times and places and circumstances. Different acharyas, they may emphasize something more than others, according to the preaching need at the time. So we can see the line, Bhaktivinoda Dhara, the line from Bhaktivinoda, that of course is a continuation of the line from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktivinoda Dharana Kokono Ruddha Hoibena, the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, said that the line of teachings, the line of practice of Bhaktivinoda Thakur will never be closed. So that it's a line, we say parampara, it's not just a list of names, but it's a transmission of Dibya Gyan Hriday Prakashita, the spiritual knowledge, the spiritual realization, which is transferred from heart to heart. Amazingly, Srila Prabhupada, it seems amazing that what the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, if we see the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, how esoteric they are, even for persons within the Vedic culture, and that was presented 500 years ago in a different cultural milieu entirely to that of the modern West, and how Srila Prabhupada was able to bring that. And even though Srila Prabhupada had only a little personal association with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was able to bring his teachings and transplant them into the West. It's the same thing. That is that shows he's the real Acharya. He wasn't adjusting for going along to get along, political correctness. We see at the present time in a Vaishnav society, there are all kinds of adjustments with trying to present devotees as compassionate welfare workers who feed school children, and we also believe in egalitarianism, gender egalitarianism, and we go along with the flow. But a symptom of the acharyas is that they don't do that. They adhere to pure devotional service. The general outlook of any society, it can change. The zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, Jugantar in Bengali, the spirit of the times it changes. And a symptom of Vaishnava acharyas is that they maintain the purity of the sampradaya, of the teachings. They don't change because societies change. They may make some adjustment to it, but they're expert enough to make an adjustment that doesn't compromise the actual flow of pure devotional service. It takes a greatly empowered devotee to do that. Various adjustments were made in Bengal in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, maybe to make it more adaptable to the various kinds of people in Bengal. And then we ended up with Aul, Baul, Karta, Bhaja, Nera, Shata, Jat, Gosai. We ended up with all upper sampradayas. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had to come and cut them. In the present day, in the Western world, we have the political correctness of, yes, we love gays, we love gender equality, promote the women. And if you say that, people say, oh, you're against gays, you're against women. Blah, 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 misogynist. But political correctness. But at that time, in Bengal, there's also the political correctness. Oh, you have to have a family guru to be a Vaishnava. You have to follow Smartas, Mayavadis. They're very good. So we see how the previous acharyas also completely avoided materialistic philosophy. They didn't adopt them. And they always promoted taking absolute shelter of Krishna. So in this way, we can see that by seeing the life and activities and teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we can very well see the connection between our own Srila Prabhupada and how he organized the preaching in similar ways, making temples, sending people out for preaching, spreading widely, and the same spirit of devotion, pure devotion. And of course, every personality is different, so Srila Prabhupada's own personal touch was there. So I haven't met Lochan Das in Sweden personally, but I thank him for his insights also, which I've incorporated into part of this talk today. And I'll finish this talk here. Ebe Josh Gushuk Tribhuvan. May the glories of all the great Vaishnava Acharyas be announced all over the three worlds. So many great people in the world, so many names are being announced. Let the names of the great acharyas be announced. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashtotarasata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashtotarasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Parivadatu jano yata tata va nanumokaro navayang vicharayama hari rasamadiramadati mata bhuvi vilutama nartama nirvishama. Dante nitaya churnakang padayo nipatya kritvacha kaku shatametadaham ravimi. Hey sadhava sakala eva vihaya durat goranga chandra charne kuratana raga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.